I'm happy to bring to the stage Craig Iskowitz, who's going to narrate the conversation. He's going to be joined by Tom Fields and Caitlin Douglas. Please give them a warm welcome to the stage. Thank you.
Good morning, Future Proof. Day 3. Thanks for being here, getting up early. Really appreciate it. AI is all powerful and all seeing. We saw some examples of this yesterday at the AI demo drop, but it also can be a little terrifying when you think about some of the fails that can happen that can affect an RIA or any firm. For example, maybe an associate of yours posting a 1040 of your clients into a public chatbot, and now it's stored in someone else's server. A model hallucinates an RMD, goes to an email, you don't catch it, now it's an unarchived communication. Or maybe one of your vendors has an AI plugin that gets hacked, and then your document vault gets drained. All those things could happen, and we want to make sure they don't, which is why we're here to give you a bunch of great information about vendor due diligence, data governance, employee AI policies and training, how you can deploy AI safely and measurably without giving your CCO a heart attack. So we only have 30 minutes. We're skipping intros. If you want more information about my esteemed panelists, Caitlin Douglas from Elevation Point and Tom Fields from Financial, please ask ChatGPT. Okay, so the first question is going to Caitlin. Only about 40% of advisory firms have formally adopted AI internally. However, only a third have established an AI committee or governance group. Now, you've established the importance of disciplined due diligence processes. How should RIAs structure vendor evaluations to ensure they're selecting AI tools safely and effectively?
Yeah, so with so much choice out there, and if we're all being honest with ourselves, with very little experience and expertise of AI in this space, it's really important to have a vendor due diligence process in place. We at Elevation Point take a more holistic approach by first really clearly defining what is the objective. So what are we trying to solve for by introducing AI? Are we looking at client workflows, client reporting, possibly risk assessment? And then from there, we're going to do our vendor due diligence for those vendors that can solve and meet our objective. Once we've kind of whittled down into the vendors that will meet our objective, it's going to be really important for us to understand how are they accessing the data, are they storing the data, and what are the compliance and security protocols around the data in general. When it comes down to it as well with AI specifically, I think it's really important that the teams ask questions around what are the processes that are in place to not only validate, but also test the accuracy of the data. And then also the vendors need to be able to demonstrate with full transparency what is the documentation, the supporting documentation that can also validate that data.
Great. Tom, next one for you. Surveys are showing that while AI adoption is increasing, 15% of firms still have no policies for employee AI use. And many advisors admit they're just quietly using it anyway. When we were prepping, you mentioned a firm you're working with that's completely blocked all AI from their employees. But why is locking down AI not a sustainable solution for RIAs, and how does it drive what you're calling shadow usage?
Yeah, so one is just not realistic for a chief compliance officer, I think, to just completely outlaw AI. You got to listen to your advisors if they want to use it. You got to find a way to actually, bring this in a safe way. But there's a really common use case that I'm fearful about is when, chief compliance officer says, we're not going to be implementing AI, then advisor on their personal device is, maybe even putting in client, personal PII information, and then they're really using a different Wi-Fi or their personal device to get to that final input, and then they're going back to their device that is monitored by work and sending that out. There's so many things wrong with that workflow, but that is currently what's some advisors unfortunately are doing. And so it's important for chief compliance officers to not hinder, I think, what their advisors want to utilize. This is incredible technology, but we need to find a way to make sure that this AI is obviously safe, you're doing it the right way, and just what Caitlin mentioned, the diligence has been done.
Are there any ways you're building that into your application Financial to make it safer?
Yeah, so we deploy virtual cloud deployment. And so essentially, that's a fancy term. So all of your data stays in your own firewall. And so you can really unleash certain AI, certain agents to do obviously certain tasks. But it's not like other RAs or commingling data. And so that's just one way that we're kind of stepping up and making sure that we do this the right way.
Awesome. All right, back to Caitlin. Studies show that garbage in, garbage out is a recurring problem with AI adoption. More than 44% of firms using AI admit they have no formal data validation process in place. So how are you thinking about normalizing data at elevation point so AI tools produce consistent, reliable results?
Yeah, so this is a big focus for us at Elevation Point right now, and it all starts with having consistent workflows and data sets that feed into one source of truth. That source of truth for us is our CRM. That doesn't mean that's the right source of truth for every firm. And then we want to use API true integrations whenever possible so that we can standardize that data as well. Ultimately, what will happen from there is that data is going to flow into our data warehouse. For any data that can't integrate seamlessly into our CRM, that data will go directly into our data warehouse as well, where it will be clean and normalized as well.
Can you share which CRM you're using?
Sure, we're using Practify.
So built on Salesforce.
Correct. Yep.
Do you find any advantages to that over other CRMs you've used for AI?
Yeah, I think that Salesforce in general, right, the chassis that Practify is sitting on is going to be one of the very first CRMs that will integrate across whatever platform it is, which is one of the reasons that we chose to work with Practify and Salesforce in the first place.
Indeed. So back to Tom. The 40% of advisory firms are already using AI for internal tasks, but most are doing so without validation or governance. So some advisors are even paying for ChatGPT or Teams out of pocket. What are the risks of relying on those versions instead of enterprise-grade solutions?
Yeah, I think the Pro, ChatGPT Pro, ChatGPT Teams, it just the level of sophistication just does not match up to these enterprise solutions that are available and built specifically for highly regulated industries. So obviously wealth management, healthcare, any essentially solution that's just handling PII. So you're just going to have a whole lot, an elevated kind of experience with that AI. But again, just going back, it's like I kind of say if there's a vendor that opens up and they just show you all the cool and fancy things that get you excited, but they don't actually open up, first explaining how they're implementing GRCC type of AI, that's a red flag for me because this is new technology, but again, we have to make sure that it's implemented in a safe way.
And most firms don't even have any standards around what is actually safe.
Yeah, that's right. That's another thing is that I think, kind of going back to that first question, is that these chief compliance officers, we have to develop essentially an AI usage. Just because if your employees are using AI that's outside of that scope, that's called shadow usage, shadow API, AI. I'm sorry, and it just goes back to again kind of making sure that you have the frameworks and you're putting in the work at the top level that you can then obviously share with the advisors when to use this.
Yeah, and we've set this up for some of our RIA clients. It doesn't have to be a giant booklet. It can just be a one-pager on here's the safe AI usage policies for our firm, and you can change it all the time because AI is changing. But you need to put it out there, both for compliance, also so the advisors know, or everyone on your staff knows what we should and shouldn't be doing.
That's right.
All right, back to a question for Caitlin. Only 15% of firms have established policies, as I mentioned, for employee AI usage. So what steps should RIAs take to integrate these AI policies into their compliance manuals and employee training programs?
Yeah, it was a good segue from Tom's last point. Yeah.
That's my job.
Well, that's your job. That's right. So I think that for us, and I think that this speaks for a lot of the RIAs out there as well, because AI is so new, you should really rely on CCO and compliance consultants in the industry to help you implement your AI policy into your compliance manual to make sure that it's meeting up to the standards because we just haven't done it over and over again yet. And once that policy is in place, leaning on the experts from the compliance in the industry, from the compliance professionals, the training of the employees is so important, making sure that the training aligns with what the policy is in your compliance manual. Certainly that takes place for new employees as they're onboarding, but then also at a cadence on an annual basis or possibly even more as you're implementing new AI strategies.
Excellent. Tom, SEC and FINRA already require archiving in all client communications, yet almost half of firms using AI admit they have no process for capturing or validating AI outputs. How should RIAs think about prompts and AI responses under existing archiving and compliance rules?
Yeah, as everyone in the audience knows, I mean, all client communication needs to be archived, and we need to make sure that the prompts that advisors are putting into the AI is also archived. And again, like going back to, there are advisors that will go outside of their current work device and essentially get to the finalized prompt and use that. But now there's not really a track that you can go and show FINRA, you can show the SEC of how you got to that output. And so, that's a big thing that we're doing here at Financial is you just have, real logs within the platform that can actually show every step, every single prompt, capturing, archiving, just making sure that, if there is an audit or if there's some sort of regulatory pressure that comes down, these firms are going to be covered.
Do you see the SEC coming out with some specific AI-related rules? Because there really aren't any, just general, everything needs to be documented. But do you see some AI-specific rules coming out?
I don't know. I don't know if I feel really comfortable, saying to the audience right now that there's specific, pressure on the SEC coming down. But I just do know that, as firms are implementing AI, it's just we just do not want to be taking risk on that front. So it's much better to play, conservative than to almost play in that gray line.
And I think in the last 5 years, the SEC has imposed over $1.5 billion in fines on broker-dealers and advisors for failing to preserve business-related communications, and AI output falls clearly under that category.
Yep.
Excellent. So off to a question for Caitlin. If I can scroll down to, or scroll up. Just 1 second. So industry experts know that AI is reducing the need for firms to hire narrow subject matter experts, but amplifying the need for advisors with empathy and client-facing skills. So what qualities are you prioritizing when hiring, and how do you see AI reshaping the skill mix of advisory firms?
Yeah, so where we are right now with Elevation Point, we have hired subject matter experts at the, call it more senior or management levels. And as we're looking to hire vertically, at this point, we're really laser focused on hiring relationship management oriented people that have the skill sets to be nimble and obviously learn different skill sets, but first and foremost, they need to have the relationship building skills and be able to speak with advisors. When it comes down to it, this is a relationship business, so I don't want to have somebody hiding behind a computer screen, it's just really important for us to make sure that they can continue to build relationships, work with people face to face, instead of necessarily having that subject matter expertise. And we can always build in AI and use technology to supplement that.
I saw some of the demos from yesterday, and they seem very willing and able to pull data for advisors and give them way more information about their clients than they ever had before, even more information about them, specific personal information, social media information. Do you see that improving the level of empathy that advisors feel like they have for their clients?
Yeah, and I think that it's also being able to take that data, ingest it, and then be able to use that in the appropriate manner when you're building that relationship with the advisor, right? You see something on social media, you can certainly reach out. If you have those relationship building skills, talk to the advisor, talk to the client about it, and start building the relationship from there.
Tom, generative AI introduces new compliance challenges, since small configuration choices, like the model's temperature setting, can determine whether responses are consistent or unpredictable. And what does setting, for example, the model's temperature matter for firms trying to achieve compliance, safe, reliable results?
Yeah, so temperature, AI, there's a lot of different terminology. So first, kind of stepping into what is temperature when it comes down to AI. So it's really measured by 0.1 all the way up to 1.0. And so the lower the temperature, the less creativity that AI is going to provide. So if you're using a 0.1, this is something that you'd want to have AI obviously running performance analytics through. I mean, this is just crystal clear. You're using your firm's data and AI to create efficiency. Where if you're going to be using AI to do content or any sort of marketing function, that's when that temperature could be 1, where you're trying to really get the creative juices out with that AI. But this kind of goes back to that's why it's really important as the technology sits right now to have specific agents doing specific tasks with AI. Just because you don't want to have, one agent where the temperature is at 1.0, reading client data, and it's getting creative, and it's, obviously surfing back insights to the advisor. That's most likely false.
And a higher temperature not only is more creative, but it also can hallucinate more.
That's right.
All right, so they should even ask their vendors about that.
Yeah, I forget who was telling me this. They were saying that they had, it was like one of their, I think it was like a board member at the firm, was kind of sharing, AI and what it was doing for the advisor, and they read, that final prompt, and, the AI was actually providing citations, but the temperature was up, and when you click the citation, it just didn't even go to a real link. And so it was hallucinating, and I just hope that advisor didn't send that to the client.
You hope he did. Right.
Yeah.
But he may have. But again,
That's
it's a
right.
question that firms need to ask their vendors, because every vendor is putting AI into their tools in somewhere. You need to ask them what is the temperature of the models you're using.
Yeah, and also making sure that vendors, you can like swap different LLM models. I think if an RIA gets pegged into one specific model, I mean, we just don't know if Gemini is going to, come out and release something that's groundbreaking. Well, now you're already behind because you can't swap that model to perform that specific task.
We are cranking through this panel, about halfway done. Think about questions. We might have a couple minutes for questions at the end, so think about questions from the audience here. All right, so another one for Caitlin. Panelists at industry conferences are constantly warning that many firms are chasing AI without first cleaning up their data or processes. So as a newer firm with what you've called a clean closet, how does starting fresh with your data strategy give Elevation Point an advantage in adopting AI responsibly?
Yeah, I think I do. I use the term clean closet a lot, and I do think that it's an advantage for Elevation Point right now. And it's really a culmination of everything that we've been talking about, in that we can set our data strategies and our data workflows. We can ensure, as long as we're disciplined, which we want to make sure not only our advisor teams, but also internally we are. If everybody is following those workflows, using the workflows, we've set our data sets and everything is clean coming into the data warehouse from day one. We're not having to go back into legacy data and sift through however much there might be from years and years, as maybe some other firms would need to do in order to really have an accurate output from the AI that we're going to implement.
Tom, we're looking into the backup questions now. We're racing through this. So we talked about firms not having formal AI policies, not having governance in place, and AI is now a top concern. So do you think that firms should be banning AI outright? Does that increase the risk or does it reduce it?
Obviously, I think reduces when it comes to a threat for fines, but long term, you're just setting your firm up to be much more behind in growth and efficiency and just that client experience. And so I think there's a different way to measure risk. But to your point, obviously if you just don't use this new technology and you're capturing client communications and you're staying compliant on all other things, you're not going to have any risk. But you are going to have risk when the RA down the street is actually implementing safe AI and growing quicker, making their advisors more efficient, and giving their clients ultimately a better experience.
Do you have any recommendations for firms on how they should monitor AI usage of employees?
You should go check out artificial intelligence risk. It's pretty phenomenal. So that's who we've partnered with. We just like what Caitlin was mentioning about doing due diligence. We kind of saw our platform because we're bringing in the planning, the performance, we're integrated with the CRM. We saw a real clear use case to essentially implement AI so the advisor can ask their app anything and then deliver those insights right through that same app. But the work that artificial intelligence risk has done is just so impressive, and I think you have to, as a vendor, you have to know your strengths and weaknesses, and we just took the approach to actually partner with best in class and bring this to market with them.
Free plug.
Free plug.
All right, Caitlin, cybersecurity remains a top technology-related issue for RIAs, with breaches increasingly linked to vendor mismanagement and poor controls. So what role does cybersecurity insurance and vendor due diligence play in your firm's AI adoption strategy?
Yeah, it's super important. We want to make sure that not only from a corporate standpoint with Elevation Point, but also our advisor teams have the appropriate level of cybersecurity insurance. We rely heavily on our resource partner that we work with to ensure that we have the appropriate limits set in place. And then when we're looking at vendors as well, we want to make sure that that's part of our due diligence process and what are their cybersecurity policies. What type of insurance policies do they even have in place? We also work with a MSP that has a cybersecurity expert on staff from a master's degree standpoint that we rely heavily if we have any questions for them on, from a cyber risk standpoint, we can have some due diligence done there too.
That's excellent. Something here at Ezra Group we also do as well. This is adding AI into our cybersecurity questionnaires.
Yep.
And a lot of firms don't think about it, that they see AI because it's being built into all the applications. They don't realize it's a whole nother application that needs to be tested.
That's right. Yep, exactly.
Over to Tom. So I want to talk more about the client-facing aspect of AI. So studies show ChatGPT answered about 1 in 3 finance questions incorrectly. And a lot of advisors are worrying about clients using AI for financial advice on their own. So what do RIAs need to understand about the risks of using AI like ChatGPT? What should they tell their clients about using it?
Yeah, I think you have to have the ability, especially like again going back to like the specific agents, to actually make sure that you have you can like really customize the output. Just because there's certain every single RIA serves their clients in a unique way. And so I don't think like an out-of-the-box solution, if you just like throw information into like a ChatGPT, which I would not do, is going to provide the output that's really unique and specific to the firm. And so again, just finding the right vendor, the right technology, where the AI is being deployed on your own private cloud. So we're not data stays inside your own firewall, but you have the customization to actually, define how you want these outputs to be received. Just because the easier we can make, the output align with the culture, just how you communicate with clients, the frameworks that you're using, the more efficient that this technology will be.
Yeah, and there's a number of free applications available that anybody can download. Just ask ChatGPT; it'll tell you all about it. How to run it and install it on your local machine, so you can pick any model and run everything locally. So, for example, we do review client contracts with their vendors, and of course, the first thing you want to do is put that into an AI to make it quicker, but you don't want to put it into a public AI. So loading it locally keeps it all inside your application, inside your firewall, inside your computer, but still gives you the advantages of quick summarization of very long contracts. Okay, we are about 7 minutes left. Any questions from the audience? I'm going to open it up really quick. Anybody have any questions about safety and AI for these two panelists? Anybody? Everyone's got safe AI? Yes, ma'am. Let me see if I can restate. Is it disclosure? So, are you putting disclosure in communications about usage of AI?
Yeah, so I can take that one first. So currently, right now, we're working with a compliance partner and understanding what do they think is needed, because I don't think that there's a lot of direction out there right now from the SEC. I think that over disclosing something is not the best thing sometimes. So we're going to be very thoughtful on how we do that. And how we're communicating to not only our advisors, but then the advisors can also communicate to their clients if they need to, on how we're incorporating AI into our platform.
Any thoughts on disclosures, Tom?
I think that's a firm decision.
Yeah. Good. Great question. Any more questions from the audience on safety of AI usage? Yes, sir. Okay, so let me restate. Can you describe the workflows around the clean closet methodology?
Yep, no problem. So we're strategically focused right now because we're onboarding many teams. We're strategically focused on the client onboarding aspect and what does that look like to not only onboard teams in mass during a transition process, but also once they get into business as usual. What does that look like from not only opening the accounts, but then their day-to-day activities as far as moving money, submitting trades. And then from there, what we have started doing is building out more along the compliance piece of it. What are the different things that have to happen on the different cadences from a compliance standpoint, quarterly attestations, et cetera. And that'll keep evolving as we evolve too. But right now, we're really laser focused just on the onboarding piece, business as usual, and compliance.
Thanks. That was an excellent question. Any more? Any more safety AI questions from the audience? Anything that's burning a hole in you? No good? Okay. Going to keep going here. So, we got one? Where was that? Yes, sir, in the back. Can you speak up? So the question is how, when you're acquiring firms, how do you plug their infrastructure into your AI infrastructure if they already have one? Yeah.
Yeah, so we haven't just yet taken a firm that has their existing AI and plugged that into ours, if that was the question, because we're really building out our own AI strategies right now. So anybody that has existing AI from a firm that, especially like somebody that was in a wirehouse situation, that data isn't going to come with them anyway. But if they're at an existing RIA, and they join Elevation Point, then what we would do is absolutely take a look in depth. How are they using AI right now? How can they incorporate it into ours? And then just do a very detailed statement of work for them, really, to see how we can incorporate it.
Thank you, sir. Excellent question. Any more? Only have 3 minutes left. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was the next question I was going to ask. It's about removing PII from client data before uploading it, and does it remove your responsibility? Is that what your question is?
Yeah. I would just, I would just say that I think that sounds like a lot of work. And so, I would just actually find AI that can ingest PII and make it easier for, your team to use. But I do think, if you don't have the solution in place and you don't really, you don't have the policies in place and you don't feel very, very confident on the AI and you're nervous about PII, absolutely remove it. But that sounds like a lot of work to me.
Yeah, the better solution is just don't upload any client documents into any public AIs. But if you feel you really need to, or it's going to provide tremendous value, you need a policy for obfuscating or masking the client data before it goes up. Right? That's got to be written and documented, or else you don't know what each person in your firm is going to be doing something different. And that was my next. Any more questions? We're down to 2 minutes left on AI safety. Anything you're thinking of for these two panelists? No? Okay, so lightning round. So when we're talking about AI and AI safety, what are the things that are keeping you guys up at night? Tom, you go first.
I think there's a lot of great, there's a lot of technology here that's moving this industry forward. I do think that there's specific kind of, vendors out there that can do specific things. And I get nervous about, there's already tech bloat and these firms that are, going to be paying these subscriptions so the AI can do this. And then there's another company over here and there's another subscription. And then, so it's like, there's going to be teams that just have this mass amount of cost, and they really didn't take the time on the front end to see, is there a way that, instead of having AI within the CRM and AI within the performance and accounting, and I'm using AI over here for the marketing, is there actually a solution out there that would allow me to build specific agents to actually accomplish all those tasks and just have one clean, essentially vendor relationship? So I think there's so much excitement that people are making decisions quick because there's like a fear of missing out. But I do think, like anything, it's good to take a step back and make sure that the solution that you're going to choose in order to move the business forward can do more than just features that can actually help you encompass all of the objectives you're looking to move through.
All right, Kate, you look at the last word. What's keeping you up at night about AI?
Yeah, I think that you know, and this also kind of circles back to maybe when we're talking about the vendor due diligence, is that there's so much out there, and we should all be honest with ourselves that nobody really knows how AI is working. You know, what is it? And that's scary, right? To think about, you know, you have this artificial intelligence that you don't really understand from front to back. It's kind of, you know, you have the mental gymnastics going on of, am I doing the right thing? Am I not? So that's pretty scary from my standpoint. But I think that, again, if everybody's honest with themselves, we're all in the same spot right now on, are we doing the right thing or not?
And I saw this. This is a good question. It was like, where do we see AI going in 5 years? And if anyone actually gives you an answer to that, they're lying. Like, no one knows.
Don't know.
No one knows.
And that's it. Please give a round of applause to our panelists, Caitlin and Tom. Thanks for being here, everyone. Really appreciate it.